Hello everybody, Chris Chapman here, Rusty Nuts Model Shop. We are going to go ahead and start on our next phase. This is actually the first phase that I ended up losing the footage of. Is what I've decided to do, since I had everything already done. I hadn't started on the motor and stuff, so I'm going to go through a procedure of how I prep and fill in gaps and stuff like that using different techniques. I have my seat here. I showed you in a previous video. I put the back on there. Is what I do is I use a black Sharpie. You can use any color, but this right here is a raised seam. I take the Sharpie. In fact, I'll show you on this other one. But right here, I put a seam or a black mark on the seam across the top. I even put a black dot right here, there, so that lets me know that's where a tab was. I've got a little bit of an area of the tab sticking up right there, so I need to pay extra close attention to that. Also, coming down the side over here, and it doesn't quite mesh up. I'm smooth and level here, but over here it's kind of brushed or sticks out a little bit farther. So we're going to clean this up, and then I'm going to be showing you how I fill in gaps and all that stuff. Doesn't seem to be a whole lot of gaps on any of this model, but I'll make one so I can show you how I fill it in. We'll put that right there. Again, my motor, I put the two pieces together. You could see where I had a seam and a gap across here. Same with right here. Comes down to the bottom part of the motor. Now, I left this here so that I could show you. I just take my marker, my Sharpie, run it sideways down the side, and the high points get highlighted. Now, it's got a little bit of a drain plug right there, and so I got to be careful so I don't lose that detail. But I'll go ahead and I got two little tabs sitting right there. Got to make sure I don't lose the detail there as well. Don't know if you can see that or not. So hopefully I get this here done pretty quick. Again, I don't want to take a lot of time. I do want to make a mention though, all of these parts are going to be washed, so I'm not worried about it here. Once I get my final prep done, everything is done on this here. I've got all the gaps filled in and stuff. I have gotten myself into the habit, and only because I have ruined a few models, paint jobs and stuff in the past, and there's a comment making very, very good sense on my previous rusting one with the sophisticated finish on segment 1, of which they mentioned that I should be wearing gloves and stuff to do it. Yes, he is correct. I appreciate the fact that he took the time to point that out to me, and I appreciate the constructive criticism. But I ended up making a mention also to him that after I got done with all of my prep, it was together, it was done. From that point on, I wash my hands with Dawn dishwashing soap. After I get done with the Dawn dishwashing soap, while washing my hands with the Dawn dishwashing soap, I wash the parts that I'm going to be working on at that time. Then, when I get back down here, while everything dries and I get it all set up, I use this Goop hand cleaner. This here is $1.97 at Walmart. This is actually a brand new tub of it. Great, 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 great stuff. This will take any grease and garbage and stuff that you get on your hands just from moving a towel that you would wipe your car down with or something. So you do pick up contaminants, so I turn around and use this. From this point, the only thing, I have everything set up, ready to go. And my hands are perfectly clean. The parts have just been cleaned. They are now dry. I am able to go ahead and work with it. And if you get yourself into that habit, you're not going to contaminate stuff. Not to mention, I've already shown this. Oh, now it wants to hide from me. Hello? Oh, there it is. Right underneath my nose. See? I use this. Before I go and do anything, I will brush any extra dust. I've got a dog here. I've got a couple of birds. I do have little things floating around. No matter how much I clean and stuff, it's inevitable. And so with it just sitting here, it might get some static electricity, whatever. I will pick up this brush and hurry up and just brush it off, and now I am ready to do any brush painting, airbrushing, whatever I decide I need to do on this particular part. So I do want to thank the person, I can't remember who it was, but I want to thank him for pointing that out, because that was what I call constructive criticism. He was correct, I should have done that, but at the same time he was unaware that I do make these practices to try to keep my models as clean and oil and dust free as I possibly can. So that was a very good tip from him, and I'd like to thank him for that. Getting back to this now, I've got everything marked out. Since I lost this video footage, I'm going to show you how I do this stuff. It's going to be quick segments, hopefully. I'm thinking this is probably going to be the longest part of the segment, is setting that up. I just want to make sure that everybody's aware this is how it should be done. So I take my sanding sticks, and I don't go with the hard or the coarsest one. I go with the medium one, and I just sand it to where I can get everything smooth and level. If I have any black, then that means that there's an area that hasn't been hit yet. And you could do this with your bodies as well. You got a seam on a body, you mark it so you know where it is. Sand it till all of the black's off, then inspect it and sand it more if need be. I got that there pretty good. I'm going to do this one here first, because we're going to be using the putty to show how I get this stuff all cleaned up. And everybody sits there and tells me, but man, you're not going to see that. Why put the effort and the work into it? Because I know it was done. I know that I got that as clean and neat and straight as I possibly can. It is as smooth as possible. See, that's a pretty good gap. I've been kind of sanding on that for a minute, and I still got black paint there, or Sharpie. So I just keep going until I can get that gone in there. That's actually got a pretty good little low spot. Now, low spot, you're thinking, oh, that's no big deal. It actually is. I'll show you why. When you go to put your manifold on there, one side's going to be higher than the other. And when that happens, it's going to make your manifold sit crooked. And so then your carburetor's going to sit crooked. More coffee, maybe. When you got a carburetor like this one here, it sticks up about yay high, and as it sticks up here, you get that thing crooked and you start looking at it. It's not like just a little part's going to be crooked. It's like that whole thing's going to sit, and it's going to look like it's sitting like this, nice and crooked. So you want to make sure you get this as straight and as clean and as neat as you possibly can to get the best outcome. And then you also know that everything is filled up perfectly. It is as clean. It's kind of, with me, a self-satisfaction as well. just knowing that I did it the best that I possibly could have done it. And this is about the only thing I have going on in my life, with the exception of my son, a dog, and a couple of birds and my Harley. And I like to really put a lot of time and attention into all of that stuff. And fixing this up like that, say I got another low spot there. And it's hard to tell. It looks like it is perfectly level, but you can't really tell. That's where the puttying comes in here in a bit. Oh yeah, that came off there right off the top. Just great. And you see I got, let's kind of dust this down. That's what vacuums are for. So yeah, that's actually looking really good. You can see I smoothed it all out real nice and stuff. It's relatively level. But with my eyes, I can't always see everything the way that it really is. Glasses, magnifiers, and everything. Some people might think this is excessive. But when I get done, if it's excessive or not, it makes me feel like, you know what, this turned out great, and I did a heck of a job on it, and I should be proud of it because of the work and the effort that was put into it. And you get done with the model and you're sitting there looking at it thinking, man, how pretty is that? Makes you feel good. It's one of the reasons we do this. We can't wait to turn around and show our wives, show our friends, show our kids, you know, and 90% of the time I bet they don't even care. But it sure does feel good to show them anyway. Get this here done. Put this extra little bit of effort into it. And adds a little bit more sense of pride to it. Okay, I've got a little bit of sanding on this, so I'll go ahead and pause it here, and then when I get this done, I'll come back when we're ready to apply the putty. Alright, I'm back. I got this here all sanded out, and while I was at it, I went ahead and got the seat all sanded up and around here. This actually went together really good. Oh, now I only used the one grit, because I'm gonna, after the putty and whatever I'm doing, I need to make sure that I get everything filled in. Then I use this again to smooth it, and then I go through the successions of different grits all the way down to the finest. So you don't have to sand out the entire car, make it nice and neat and clean, and then put your putties and stuff on and then do that again. Just use your one grit, get it smoothed out, put your putty on it, then start. Now, I get these cups here from Arby's. They're nice enough to not be looking when I grab a whole bunch of them and throw them in my pocket. Usually a stack about yay big or so each time when I get low. These are great. A lot of people don't know. You know, it's a little ketchup condiment thing. But if you take it, some of you know this, some don't, and you pull on them, they're designed to lay down flat. So, you know, you got your ketchup there, so now with your french fries you can actually dip them in there and as you eat them. So you got yourself a little saucer type deal here. This works good for putting putties and glue and things like that on. Then when you're done, you just toss it in the garbage can and then go back to Arby's or McDonald's, wherever you go, and grab some more when you get low. So another tip, and most of the time, if you go up and ask them, they have no problem letting you have some. So I'm going to go ahead and squirt that. I don't need a lot because I'm just going to do the motor with this stuff. That's what I use. If I can get it out here. You get these at the dollar store, like 10 of them in a bag for $1. It has a little foam pad on the top. And these things here are great. One, you can turn around when you have the foam on it and stuff, use it for using your powders and things and kind of sponging your acrylics on. So that's really good. Then when it gets done, you rip the top of that off and you got yourself the perfect spatula type applicator for doing putties and things like that. And this is what I also use when I'm doing my pearl powders, to dip it in there. When I get the tip of that filled up for an ounce of paint or a clear coat, I know I've got enough on there. And you know, this is the kind of stuff you get with your pearl powders. So you just mix them up with this, works great. Now, I'm going to kind of mix this up just a little bit. And you don't need to put goop on a lot on small parts like this.
When it comes to looking good, most guys are caught between too many options and too little time. With Birchbox Man,
I like to just try to put it on right on the seams.
We'll send you a personalized box with the latest and greatest grooming samples and lifestyle essentials right to your door. Try them out, get insider tips from our online guide, and earn points when you buy full-size.
Try to get it as flat as you can. You can use Windex on a Q-tip also, which helps to level this stuff and keep it wet as well. So if it feels like it's drying out, you can do that. Now up here, like I said, I have that hole. It appears to me to be smooth, but I don't know for sure. So I'll go ahead and put this on here. And as stated in my previous video, a lot of this stuff, most of you guys already know. This is stuff for those newer people that don't know. And if we all just kind of bear together, then everybody will walk away with the same knowledge as either what they had when they came or have more when they leave. You know, a lot of people are afraid to try rusty stuff because they're still new to the hobby. And don't really know what they're doing. It's kind of why I get asked a lot on these videos and why I've decided to do this series. Is so that I can help everybody. And I do get a lot of people asking. I've got guys that have been building models for 10 years saying, you know, I've never done a rusty, how do you do it? And well, those of you that already know how to do all this stuff, this will show you how I do them, and that you basically do the same thing. This is also going to show that people that are newer to the hobby need to do this as well, even on your shiny builds. The straighter, smoother, and cleaner and stuff you can make these things, the better they're going to come out, and you'll see the improvements just by applying a couple of different techniques. Now, yeah, that there's got a really good gap, but I had it sanded down really good. So I am going to take this one here and let it dry overnight. And so we will set this off to the side. So that brings us to that. But before I get started on that, I need to get all my putty off of this so it's good to go. Just with the paper towel, I just wipe it off so it's clean and ready for the next one. Set that over there. We'll use that 4 or 5 more times, so we'll set that off the side. Now, I'm going to be using a technique, and I have showed this on other videos and stuff, but not everybody's seen all of them. Not to mention that sometimes you forget. This has been sitting up on the top of a shelf for a bit, and I just noticed there was a couple small cobwebs going over to it. Another thing that works really good here at the bench, these Swiffer sweeper thingies. Get a whole bunch of these things really cheap, especially if you go to the dollar store and pick them up there. And when you've been doing a lot of sanding and stuff like that, instead of just dusting it onto the floor like I did previously, you can turn around and get it all cleaned up here, and then when that thing gets full, throw it away. I use that to wipe down my models and full bodies and everything. So another tool at the bench. Now, like I said, this seat here is in really good shape. You can see where I've got it all sanded. Came out really good. You can see a couple of low spots along this one side over here. So we'll focus on that. But to show you what this stuff can do and how well it works, I'm going to go and grab onto my pin vise right here. And right here on the bottom, I'll go ahead and put a little hole in there. Maybe a little bit bigger than that. Now, grab onto my X-Acto, kind of open that up a little bit. This is just going to be for fun. And let's get this back out again. I don't know why I put it away, kind of getting ahead of myself. Okay, you're going to need a toothpick. This here is baking powder. I like to use the extra thick CA glue. I'm not going to need a lot, so I'll just put a little dab down there on the paper. Set that off to the side. Now, we'll start off with that hole that I made. Just take the super glue, and we'll kind of smear it right there, kind of thick. And then I'm going to go ahead and smear it down the side right here so it gets down into the holes. Get this all filled in, just so that I can make sure that I get it done right, because I really like to put the effort into these things and make them as clean as I can. I'm not saying everybody has to do this, I'm just saying this is the way I do it. Again, when people ask me, hey, how do you do that? I'm showing you how I do it. But if you take the time and the effort, this side here is almost smooth as can be. Love it. This kit, again, I cannot say enough about the quality of this kit. So we got all of that stuff there. Now, once you get that on there, you take your powder and you just sprinkle it on. This here, get that back dot going. Sorry if I'm blocking. But I just sprinkle the powder on here really, really good. Get it across the top, wherever the super glue was. I want to make sure I get this hole that I have here. And then I just sit it down inside there. Again, this here helps Swiffer sweeper thingy. Wipe my hands off on it. One thing that I am going to point out that I need to stress out, and so if you're kind of not paying attention, pay attention at this point for a second, please. This is going to dry hard as a rock. This powder is sucking out the drying agent in that, so it speeds the process up. And if you let that go more than 3 minutes, by the time you get that one side sanded, you're going to have to start using your files, and a lot of filing, to get that smoothed out and to get that super glue off of there. I like to have just a smidgen where it's a little bit soft still, sand it off, and then move to another area. And as you're doing that, what you just got done is going to set up and harden some more, so by the time you get done, you can come back to the other side and then clean it up. So just a couple of minutes. And to save you a lot of work, if you need to set a timer, set a timer. So now I will take a different brush and I will go ahead and brush off any excess. So that's feeling pretty good right there. So we're going to come back. I want to move this because I don't want any sanding dust into it. And another thing too that I'm going to point out, typically I use just a painter's mask for this. Obviously I'm not doing it now because I want to be understood and stuff when I'm explaining this stuff. But when I do all of my sanding, I like to have a painter's mask on because that's a lot of really small particles that really is not good to be breathing. Yeah, this is setting up beautifully. Beautifully. Now keep in mind also, again, I'm using the coarser grit right here just to go and get everything smoothed out. And we'll come over. Good thing too about doing this is it dries clear. So even when you get it done, you can still see downside there. I have in the past, because of some gaps and how badly gapped they are, I will take and drop just a small drop of a red or an orange acrylic. I'll thin it down and put just a drop just to change the color, so when I put it in there I can see where it is when I get done. I like doing the clear stuff because that way when I go to build the car I don't need to use a primer over it, because I like to just spray right onto the body. And being clear, it shows the same color, but if I turn around and have like green patches from my putty, when I go and I paint over the white part, if there's a green one, that little green patch of putty will change the tint of the paint. And so if you have a big area that you have a big gap that you had to fill in down, say, the side of a door, and there's a real big thing, you put something like a green patch of putty like that, and you just spray paint over it, you're going to see a difference in that little patch sitting on there. So I like to try to keep it as clear as I can. When I'm doing the seams on the motor and stuff, it's not going to be a big deal because I'm going to be covering them up with the manifold and stuff. And so here I go with the holes that I dug, or that I drilled. Go ahead and dust this off. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, every hole, every seam, even the ones that I drilled in there, that is smooth. Well, smooth as it can be for it being a coarse thing. Now I go through it after doing the coarse one. I flip it over to the not so coarse one. I don't know what the grits are on these. I wish I did so I could tell you, but the finer grit, I'll go across. And obviously I'm going to clean this up a little bit better after I get done with this recording. I'm just going to kind of do a rough hurry up, show you what it looks like type deal. And then if I need to go in there and clean it up a little bit better, I'll do that off camera. But you don't need a lot. Not a lot of pressure. You don't push real hard with your sanding. Most people know that already. So, but see, I still got to do the front of the seat and everything. So I get that done. Okay, get that done, then I grab onto the finest of grits. This is the main buffer. This is the one that'll take out any fine scratches and stuff. Well, I guess I had to get back into the camera view. Okay, let's go ahead and dust that puppy off, or seat off. There we go. Nice, neat, and that is smooth as can be. Filled that hole right in. Kind of wish I could just like hand it out and pass it around and let everybody see how well that did. I don't know how well it's going to be showing up on the camera with the lighting. Did decide to try a different thing, added a couple other lights on the back side so that whatever light was coming in my window, that was kind of annoying me the other day. But that's it. That's how I do my, now this here with it having glue, it's done. Throw it away. Last thing you want to do is take your nice thing, stick it in there, then you go to pick it up and it's super glued and you have to spend a bunch of time trying to get your X-Acto. You don't want super glue on your sanding sticks or on your little fuzzy duster thingy. So that is now garbage, thrown away, done, out of the way. So that's how I do this. I will be finishing up the motor tomorrow after that dries, and then I will get that portion up. I'm going to go ahead and start work on the chassis again and get recording of that, and things work out, maybe I'll have that put up tonight and then put this one up tomorrow. So we will see you soon. Thanks again for watching, and I will be back with the final of this portion. Thank you. Alright, let's get back to finishing up this segment. I went ahead and took the privilege of sanding down the motor. Got the seam lines and everything fixed up. I figured you guys didn't need to watch me do that, but I wanted to show, if everybody remembers, as I was doing it, I was sanding it down and I was telling you how it looks really smooth, looked really nice, real flat, felt great, felt smooth as can be. But the reason that I do the filling and everything is to make sure it can be as good as it can be. Well, right here is the finished sanded motor block. This right here will prove the reasons why I do what I do. I thought I had it really, really good. I thought that it was going to come out real smooth, so when I painted it, it would be smooth. We'll start with the down here. You can see on the oil pan all of the green marks here. That right there, people, are dips inside the plastic that I had sanded smooth. The putty has filled that in, so as of now it is smooth. If I would have gone in there and painted this, especially doing a shiny where I would have done this aluminum or a chrome color, every one of these little nicks and notches and low spots would have come up and showed in the paint. So to me, this has to be done. Now, this one here, not as much, because you can look at it as being dings and dents and stuff from where it's hit something, but I like to have it clean. All the way down, you can see the holes on the side coming up and around this area here. All of that was all low spots that are now filled in nice and smooth. You can see coming down, I had it pretty good except right here at the very end. Needed a little bit. Right there needed a little bit. Come up to the top part of it, you can see there was a bad gap. So this all right now, as of now, like for this diorama, I may even have this motor sitting laying kind of cockeyed like this on the ground with the engine compartment sticking up and making it appear that somebody's pulled the motor out of it doing some work. Well, in doing that, you don't want to have big huge gaps and seams coming down here where there isn't them. Now, sorry. Now, transmissions though do have the same for where they split them, but it's really, 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 really hard to see them seams, and especially if it's up inside there. So I do like to have it to where it's cleaned up, as nice and as neat and as smooth as possible, so when I go to do the work on it, the work's going to show out and not some huge seam that looks out of place. For the scale of these things, the seam really wouldn't show on a 1/24th, 25th from what it is on a transmission on a 1/1 size. So you got to keep that in mind. That's why I like to do and finish and fix and clean mine up, because it looks better without a seam this small than a seam that looks way too big and out of scale. So now I've got to just go ahead and finish working on putting the rest of this motor together and a couple of things, and we're ready to start paint. Most of you people know how to glue stuff together, so I'm going to go ahead and get everything ready. Now, as of now, I am real close to having everything done and ready for paint. You guys have seen everything in the previous segments and stuff, so I am going to go ahead and end this segment here, and then probably tomorrow we'll get started on doing some painting on the chassis, get the motor painted, get the tires done, and get the whole chassis built up here, and that'll be the next segment. And then we will move from that point over to the body and interior parts. So for right now, this is Chris Chapman from Rusty Nuts Model Shop signing off. Thanks for watching. Bye.